Eddie.
This is Nicole. Welcome to Beyond the Grind.
Let's talk about it.
So, how was your weekend?
The weekend was busy.
Why?
We did a lot of different things, you know. Spent a lot of time with the kids.
Yeah.
Real estate. Had a lot of showings and had some ups and downs from clients' perspectives.
Oh, okay.
For them. Had some clients that, you know, found houses that they liked. But was unable to get it. Either the interest rate was too high or the closing cost was too high. And the time frame that they needed to settle within, before we could even put our offers in, the house had offers on it.
Listen, didn't we just say last time, like, the multiple offers are coming back?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, can we move expeditiously? I tried to set the tone because I had several showings this week. And I told the guy, like, I get, like, you want to think about it, but don't ponder too long because if you do, it's going to be gone.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, for me, just seeing, like, the way the calls are starting to come in.
Yeah.
So, like, you put the house on the market, and then what I'm seeing now is many of the realtors are calling and they're saying, hey, before I schedule this showing,
are there offers?
Yeah, are there offers? Or is the house under contract? I had a lady tell me yesterday, another realtor, she said she showed a house. And by the time she got back home, she was reaching out to the other agent to write the offer, and the agent said they already accepted an offer. So, yeah, the market's like, I mean, obviously it's the spring market now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's starting to become, more aggressive. I think the rates will go down with the elections. And there's a lot of programs starting to come back out. You see them.
Yes, there's one coming out in April. What's the name of that program?
They got the first front door.
Yeah, that's the one that's happening now, right?
Yeah, I heard about that.
And then there's one dropping in April. And then, of course, you have the DISHA and everything like that. But yeah, I think that's going to be beneficial to the closing costs, but it's going to make it so competitive. I think I read an article later last year that basically said, start getting your houses now.
Yeah, it's important because if people wait for the rate and they say, hey, I'm gonna wait till the rates go down.
You can always refinance.
Yeah, and plus you really don't know, like, I mean, what if the rates go up?
Right.
And then you kind of miss that market. I mean, just like you and I come to learn in life, I mean, you start where you are.
You have to start. Just start.
But anyway, enough with me.
No. Oh, no, you're fine. Did you go out to eat anywhere? Come on, you have to give me a Liliana story.
We try to go out.
I remember you said that.
Yeah, once a week. At least take them out to dinner and talk to the kids. But yeah, she's always the energy.
At that age, they have to bring the energy. It reminds us of our age. Like, dang, where do they ever slow down?
Yeah, which brings us to the fact of, like, having a childlike mentality. When you have a childlike mentality. I mean, one thing I noticed that when she plays, my daughter, she puts all the toys everywhere.
Okay. So
she'll pull out Paw Patrol. It could be puzzles. She wanted a pewter. That's what she calls it, a pewter.
A pewter. Oh.
So she'll pull out the pewter. She's playing with that. And then the next thing you know is probably about 7 or 8 different. Well, you got kids,
Yeah.
It's like 7 or 8 different piles on the floor. And then she'll go from, one thing to the next thing to the next thing. I mean, do your kids do that?
Yes. They do. My middle one and my youngest one. And Sophia's more refined now. She used to, but I realized that I would try to aid them, like, no, clean up before you pull out the next toy. Right. But I think what you're about to go with is the way that they try everything out to see what they want. And that is a great childlike mentality. If you want to bring it, like, fast forward to an adulthood, it's almost like you need to start dating your ideas. Oh, you know how, like, you think about
look at you. You're going to have to patent that.
Date your ideas, because if you think about it, like, when you're dating several people, you get to know them. You see if it works. Right. And it's like, no, I don't like this personality. Let me go to this one. Yeah. If we dated our ideas more often, how many, like, great things could be produced from that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get stuck, too. I mean, some people, obviously you have family, you have kids, you have things of that. of that sort. But, even just watching how like a child does it, she opens up like so many different opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
She'll play with this particular item for a certain amount of time, and she'll say, you know what, I'm done with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll go to the next thing. But then she'll ultimately come back to it if she felt that there was some value in whatever it was that she was playing with. And I agree with what you just said. I think in life, some people get stuck, and they don't have the ability to understand that there's still a lot of different opportunities that you can run to or you can go to. I was watching the news, and they had on the news. You remember a TV show called The Sopranos?
I never watched it, but yes.
It was like, I don't want to say it was like, I guess it was like some mob kind
of thing. I was gonna teeter on that one, but yeah, I never watched it, but I heard about it.
This was like last week. Somebody paid $862,000 for the bench that was serious? For the bench that was inside the restaurant that they would sit at and talk. Why? $862,000.
Why? Can you imagine? They must have a lot of money to be able to blow on a bench.
Well, here's the thing. It took me back to like my grad school professor.
Okay.
When I walked in, he had this formula written on the board, and it said V equals PC minus B. Me and you, I think, I ever talked to you about this?
I vaguely remember, but you tell me.
Well, what it is the value equals the cost minus the perceived benefit.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So nevertheless, if somebody sees the value in a product or a service, they're willing to pay the cost for it. So in this particular case, this guy, whoever purchased this, they saw the value in spending $862,000.
That's crazy to me.
For this bench, which is crazy to me. But nevertheless, we seen.
No, like in my mind, I'm like, not that I'm like pocket watching, but I heard that from another podcast. I didn't come up with that, but if you can spend that just on imagine like that's your play money.
Right.
I mean, I get maybe for artwork, but that's just.
But people spending that on like shoes and.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It doesn't build, like it doesn't what's it called, appreciate and value. Like, why do we invest in things that sometimes depreciate? We'll spend so much for a car where the moment you take it off the lot, it's not the same value. But back to what you were saying with the childlike mentality, what do you think makes a person lose that? Because if every child starts off that way, right? It's a natural, it's like innate, it's in us to do that. What do you think is the reason that we start, like, as we progress in life, we decline in that mentality and we have to stay with this one thing?
I mean, I think it's life. And I don't want to use life as like a vague statement.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think people got bills. Their people's dreams change.
That is true.
And it's like, like some people have hoop dreams. It's like, I'm going to go to the NBA. You get hurt, something of that sort. But I think it's important to position yourself where, even if you are working and paying your bills and things of that sort, it's still ways you can accomplish and have that childlike mentality. It's like very important for you to be able to live in that moment.
We have to nurture that and almost protect it. But unless you have a person who's gotten you, your parents, who's aware of that now.
Right.
Then that's the only way for me, like, in my opinion, for it to be maintained and nurtured. Like, you see that in Liliana. You're probably going to continue to nurture that trait in her.
Right.
So it doesn't change. Whereas sometimes in hindsight, parents can, like, we'll start pushing on our life experiences on our children. Like I said earlier.
Yeah.
Like, my mentality is like, no, clean up.
Right.
Do this before you get to the next thing.
Right.
Oh, and before you get to the next thing, make sure you clean up.
Yeah. That's
so it's like, oh my gosh, you're almost taking away the
ability for
them to, like, I want to try it all out.
Right.
And then, like, but then it's a fine line between trying to all out and not quitting.
Right.
Because now you start maturing into different stages.
You
where
remember when we was little, your mom and them, you pull out all this stuff. You better pick that up.
You better clean up.
Yeah.
Like my house was like, we were clean. we're like I love organization. Like, I used to get excited for school.
Right.
You get yourself and I could organize. Like, I was that kid.
So do you think this could affect, say for example, right? just let the baby just put all the stuff all on the floor.
Chaos. Go ahead.
Do you think this could affect somebody when they get older, where they don't uniformly put everything away?
Yeah, they could be a hoarder. So if it's a balance, though.
Well, when is it? Because here's what I like. She'll play with all these different things, and then I'll watch.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, like when it's time to say eat or get in the bath or something of that sort, then I'm like, all right, it's time to clean up. Let's play the cleanup song. Clean up, clean up, clean up. And then she'll clean it up, nice and neatly. But while I watch her brain work, and it reminds me of that quote where they say, you never understand the value of a moment until it becomes a memory.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of watch her doing all those different things. And to me, it's like, aspiring.
Yeah.
Because it puts me in a position where it's like, I don't want to break this moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, clean up this now before you go to the next thing, clean up that. No, I want you to have an open slate, especially the way the world is now. I mean, you got to have like 7 different streams of revenue in order to survive just because of the cost of living right now.
Yes. Now factor in carrying like other lives that you're responsible for. But back to your question, I was joking when I said they would come up. Okay, I'm joking but serious. But I think that the age and stage do have to match, right? So as you start getting older, it's new responsibilities. But the one thing that we can still carry on is, you would think of like your son Christian, right?
Right.
And I mean, Sophia, she's 9, but they're going to start wanting to do activities.
Right.
So to see what they like, they have to I might want to do soccer. I might want to play an instrument. I want to draw. I want to do this.
Yes.
So I think allowing them to still try everything out.
Right.
That's now the new stage. It's not the toys, but it's now the activities. Yes. And then sometimes, in my opinion, that's why I think vocational school was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Shout out to Hassan. Yeah, right. We both did. Yeah. But I think that's why all schools, in my opinion, should have some type of process where you're trying different things. Remember we did that in ninth grade?
You got to go around. You can try electrical trades. You can try carpentry, dental system.
Before you make your decision.
Before you make your decision.
You could date the possibilities, whereas now it's like when you get out of high school, you have to know what you want to do when you go to college.
Right.
You can't date different majors, and then you might have to start over and all that kind of stuff like that.
Let's talk about the change with colleges.
I think college should be free.
Did you hear about the one school
where
the billionaire gave all the money to the school?
No.
New York something. But I guess the lady's husband invested into I don't know the exact thing. It's either Telsa or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it was I think it was like $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So she gave the whole $1 billion to this New York School of Medicine and paid all the kids' tuition. So there's actually still money. Because somebody sent me a text.
Really?
The other day, about 2 days ago, somebody sent me a text and said, hey, you know anybody that wants to go to school for medicine, like young kids right now? Because this school will pay the whole tuition, and it was like up to like $400,000 or something like that.
But honestly, education should be free. Someone who's seeking knowledge. Now, I say education should be free.
Right.
Think about in school, you're not getting experience.
Right.
So you're saying I have to pay for knowledge now?
Yeah.
So I personally think education should be free. Now, talk about trades.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have to pay for that. But there's no reason why. I graduated at 17. I don't know how old you were. I had no idea. You were not. You're probably like 18. Like, I'm an old man. I bet you take that 18-year-old bone back. Yeah. Take those joints back. But I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Right.
I wish I knew then what I think I know now. Yeah. Where I could have experienced different things. I would have chosen to be a real estate agent much sooner.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with that. I think that instead of being pigeonholed into one particular thing, like, for example, I took up auto body.
Mm-hmm. So,
God forbids, if all else fails, I still know how to sand a car.
And I can make you a denture. I was in dental lab.
I can paint a car and get it back on the road. Work in somebody's auto body shop or even open up my own. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do like the fact that, it gives you the option and the ability to never become a dinosaur. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the way that education is changing, because I was reading something and it mentioned the fact that, and I don't know the exact percentage, but something to the tune of there will be more online colleges than physical buildings.
I did read that somewhere, but I can understand why.
Yes.
Like the way I personally learn myself, I'm self-paced.
Right.
I would rather have done virtual school than in person. And now with the statistics of homeschool going up since the pandemic and everything, I think that people are trying to allow their children to test certain things and basically explore, because there's so many more different ways of learning.
Right.
And in schools, you have one teacher to 30 students. And when you talk about college, there's even more students that you're only teaching to one really type of style. But I do feel that with that mindset, now you have to be careful where character needs to kick in, because then you're going to start taking that in your romantic life, where it's like, oh, let me just test the field here. And then you're never going to make it. Then you can be very careful where now you're a person who's fearful of commitment.
Right.
Like now, because I'm so used to getting to play with everything. And I'm so used to getting to try everything. And now I'm so used to dating everything. I don't commit to anything.
So where does that fine line get drawn?
Character. That's when
how can a teacher build on character?
A teacher can't, unless you're talking about, to me, the household. I feel as though before your child even goes to school, learning starts at home.
They said charity begins at home and then spreads abroad.
It does. It starts home. And I do think that we give a lot of responsibilities to teachers more than we give to ourselves. And as a parent for myself, I have to take, me and my husband, we have to take like personal inventories and make sure that we are pushing what our children need and not looking for the outside world or whoever your village is. Like if you're a one household like family, and let's say you're a single mom, you might have to tap into the male influences if you have a son to help give that character and help guide that life. Because without the character, they're not gonna make a commitment, and not making a commitment leads for broken homes, broken emotions, and all those other factors. I almost sound like a bitter woman. I'm not. I'm just saying.
Look at you, the therapist
today. Right? I had wrote down. I was like, if I knew then what I think I know now. You know how most people say,
now you know words matter.
Exactly. So it's what you think you know now.
Right.
Because there's a whole wealth of knowledge that I haven't even tapped into because I don't know it. But if someone was to come to you and go do an interview like, hello, Eddie, how are you doing today? What could you tell your 18-year-old self? What would you tell yourself? That was my report.
Oh, can I answer the question?
Yeah.
Wow, because I had to think about that when you just said it.
Yeah, think about it.
If I could tell my 18-year-old self something, I would have said, keep playing football. Because I think it was lessons that I could learn by stop playing. I think it was lessons that I missed.
So what made you stop?
Another mental path.
Okay.
Like, you get tired of something because you had done it for so long.
Yeah.
But at the same token, you were really good at it. Kind of like Andre Agassi. I don't know if you know tennis. I'm all tennis.
You do your thing.
I'm always talking sports stuff. So like Andre Agassi was arguably probably one of the best tennis players out. And I read his book. But he hated tennis. He hated it. But he would always win. And he wrote in his book, he was just like, I hated doing this, but I'm good at it. I'm getting paid a whole lot of money. But in the end,
no longer a challenge anyway.
And it started causing pain and injuries to him. Like he would go to the tennis match, because I didn't realize how tough tennis was until I read his book. Like you can see it on TV, but he was explaining about how when you play in different countries, say for example, if it was France, they play on clay or mud. So he's like sliding back and forth trying to hit the ball. And it takes a toll on your ankles. It takes a toll on your back.
Really?
Yeah. So he said after.
I didn't realize that.
Me neither.
That's wow.
It's crazy. What Serena and all them go through? I had no idea.
Now you understand that. Because it was hurting.
Yeah, it was hurting them. Yeah.
I get it now.
Like they say, I hear the young folks say, they say, oh, you wasn't there with me when I was shooting in the gym. Well, I mean, there's a big meaning behind that.
Yeah.
It's like the sacrifices you got to make. Like you waking up, you lifting weights, you got meal plans. If the coach wants you bigger than the size you are.
So you got tired of doing that.
Well, yeah. But, if there was some life experiences that I could have got from that, if I would have continued doing that, which would have helped me progress further in the future.
Do you think you would still be on the path that you are with real estate and like where you, of course, like the one left can dictate the rest of your directions, but
right.
How do you think it would have changed your life listening to that advice?
I think I still would have went down the same path, but just say, for example, if I did play and was good enough to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Everybody's dream, right?
Yeah. Well, some, yeah.
Yeah, some.
For a sports person who's into football. Exactly.
Yeah. You know, just by being there, like, even if I wasn't good, but just by just making it to the NFL, you know, they say, let your cup run over and then you can give to others. So my cup would have been able to run over more and I could have been able to give to more people.
Got you.
Quicker. I was in a conversation yesterday because I'm big on talking about things happening organic, right?
I agree.
So yesterday I was in a very important meeting and someone was supposed to be there on time.
Okay.
But that person was unable to make it. So the meeting had to continue. After the meeting happened, before the end of the meeting, the person reached out and said, hey, is the meeting still going on? I can get in. There was somebody grading the quality of the meeting.
Yeah.
And that person was able to get in. They added their input and the meeting was closed. And the hope is the result that we want shall occur.
Exactly.
But with that being said, organically, if that individual wasn't able to come in at the time frame that he came in, who knows what the result could be. So I'm big on like things happening organic, you know, in the universe. I think that everything you experience happens and it occurs at the time that it's supposed to occur within.
I agree.
But I also think that you have to have the ability to have different options or plant different seeds so that you can walk along the path that you want to go through. And although you might get thrown off,
exactly,
still going to be.
It's almost like not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And I find that to be very important for me. It's almost like not having just one stream of income or just that, because once that goes, and I always say it to people who are who think they want to be an athlete or they are an athlete, but they want to go professional.
Right.
So I have a nephew who he was saying like he's really good at boxing. And
well, hold on, your whole family is famous.
No, not my whole family.
You got NBA players.
My uncle, yeah.
You got NFL players.
No, I don't. Not at all. Not at all. But no. So he was saying he was like, I'm pretty good at anything. And you know how sometimes he's 15, so you're like, okay, honey.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what is it that you want to do? And he was like, you know, I'll probably be like a basketball player or something like that. I was like, okay, so that should be your plan B. What is your plan A? And I flipped it because I'm like, if you were to get an injury, right? And that's why I think it's good for people who use their bodies,
right?
Because we all know this is not meant, you know, it's not built for tough.
Yeah,
you're done.
Right.
There's no bounce back, and then you got to think like, oh my God, what do I want to do? And then it's like you're gonna work at McDonald's. You didn't have a plan. Right. So why isn't basketball your second plan, where your first plan could be to invest in real estate? Become a real estate agent or pick up a trade.
Right.
So
that's why we just talked about like the trade school.
Exactly.
But you know, I had somebody ask me one day, they were talking, or not even so much ask, we were talking about LeBron James.
Okay.
And the conversation was about him going pro at the time that he did. Because he went when he was what, like 18 years old? Yeah. So I heard George Clinton say, when an opportunity or an idea is supposed to present itself, there's no stopping it. When it's time is its time, its time is its time, and that's it.
That is true.
That's like Dr. Seuss.
No,
when it's time is its time, its time is its time.
This would be your new book.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna write a book. But he said that. So like I was thinking about like when we had the conversation about LeBron, some people said, oh, he shouldn't go in the NBA. Like, no, his time was his time. So like when you ask your nephew that, you say nephew, he was 15, he's like, I can do anything. I think when we become adults, we have to program our mind to believe that. Because most of the time, we position our mind where we're like, we get so clouded with, oh, I can't do this because I got children, or I can't do this because I got to pay this bill, or I can't do this because the number one escape word I don't have the time. Mm-hmm. But you do have the time.
Yeah, failure starts with us as adults before we even try. Before we even start. We failed. We lost because we didn't try.
So your 15-year-old nephew right now knows I can do anything. Mm-hmm. Like when my son was young, I used to always program in his mind that you're a genius. That's what I will always say to him. As soon as he woke up, you're a genius. Mm-hmm. You're a genius. Now he thinks he's smarter than me.
But that's good though. You want to know why? Because if you did the opposite of saying what he's not at this point, because some people have the mindset with your children like, oh, that's setting them for unrealistic expectations.
Right.
That's not, and it's like, no, what you're doing is, because I do it with my children all the time, like like you're not just a pretty face, right? You're intelligent, you're loving, you're this, and you have to do that because imagine if we did the polar opposite, right?
Yeah.
Then you would get to a certain age like, I'm nothing.
Right.
And I'm not worth this.
Right.
So by you telling him you're a genius, there's a certain caliber that he's going to always want to reach to and a certain level that he's going to be like, you know what? I got to reach that goal because this is who I am. Right. This is who I was built to be. Like, I'm a genius. So if I'm doing something stupid, like I know better because I'm a genius.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Right? And that's where we want to get them to.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we have to, get to, because we get so clouded. We're just like, oh man, I can't do all these things right now. Mm-hmm. But it's like, no, when opportunity presents itself, it's too late to work on our resume.
Yeah.
Like we got to do it
while we can.
LeBron had to go to the NBA when his time was his time to go.
Yeah.
He had to. Now, say, for example, he said, no, I'm not going. And I stay in college. Then what would happen if he tore his Achilles heel?
We wouldn't know him like that.
Well, we don't know.
I was saying we possibly wouldn't know him, but I will say, like you said, things are supposed to happen when they do.
Right.
I don't like living a life of regrets. Mm-hmm. I like to live in the consciousness of my lessons and not in my regrets. So
look at you.
It's like
you just said we're the offering plate. It's an offering plate. It's an offering plate around.
No, for real, because going back to what you said, LeBron, if he gets hung up on like, oh, I could have done this, because for us, we see success, but I don't know if his gauge of success, he has reached it. Right. I don't know if we technically don't know, but if he only just thought about like, I'm regretting the fact that I did this and I didn't do that, then there's no progress because you're staying back in the past.
Right.
And we have to progress forward. And that's why I said, if we change the verbiage and we stop saying like, I'm regretful, and you're saying, no, I'm going to be mindful. This was a lesson. And now I know that I could have done this differently. So when you said that, you would have told your 18-year-old self to continue football.
Right.
Because you feel as though what stopped you was a mental thing, like things that you were processing. Mm-hmm. But you still don't regret the fact that you are where what you did.
Right. I don't regret it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But so let me ask you this.
Okay.
Just say you were let's talk about tennis player.
Okay.
And you were.
Am I like as good as like Venus and Serena?
We're going to say.
Close to it.
We're going to say you on your way to being better than them.
Oh, like almost like Naomi.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, because she's doing.
Okay.
So if you had the ability to just say like, go pro, have all these opportunities with endorsements and money or everything, or continue to develop before that, which one would you take? And this is your 17-year-old self.
So if I'm at 34 talking to my 17-year-old self.
Yes.
The questions I would want to ask that little girl, Nicole, is, are you mentally prepared for what fame's going to give you?
Ooh.
Because
we need 2 offering plates today for you.
So this is when they come to the altar. This is when they come to the altar. They start placing that money down. Place it at the altar.
And they praise dancing.
Right, because
Sister
a lot
Williams
of times
threw her hat.
the usher has come to fan you. Like, let's do a circle around. A lot of times when it comes to look, the rappers. Let's go to the music industry, even just athletes. But a lot of them have been given this burst of money, this burst of fame, and then you think of the amount of famous people who have high suicide rates and stuff like that because they mentally were not prepared for They were prepared for all the love, but they were not prepared for all the backlash.
Right.
And then, like someone said, if you're going to be successful, you can't think you can please everybody. And
we know who that was. Yep.
But you seriously, you have to hurdle like not being a people pleaser.
Right.
So I back at 17, that's all I was. I was a people pleaser so bad, where I would just want to know, like, are you mentally prepared for, there's people who are not going to like you just because you're out here.
Right.
So are you prepared for that? Are you prepared for not knowing who's your friends or your foes?
Right.
Because with money, it's going to come new people coming around with you, and you don't know with the notoriety, are people, do they like me for me? Right. Or is it for what they think I can give? So it's just making sure that you're prepared for that. And that's, so I wouldn't tell that 17-year-old self not to do it or to do it. It would just be like, whatever you decide to do,
right?
Stand 10 toes down in your decision and be confident in it and be prepared for whatever the outcomes would be. And I don't feel that we have those discussions with our athletes and our boys, like, okay, when you get out there,
right,
like they should have like a course that they have to go through of athletes who already done this.
You better get it copyrighted.
I know, right? Like, where's my school? Like, but
listen, I understand groupies,
like, they're going to flood you. It ain't worth. Listen, it's not worth messing up your whole career by having 19 baby mamas, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
what about the women then? What about the women?
I don't know.
So what's the name that they call a man then that's going after the women on these things? Because they call the women groupies.
What is the word?
See what I'm saying?
Is it a lot for men?
Well, you gotta make it up right now.
No, but here's the question.
All right, so let me ask you this:
okay,
if it's Cardi B right there, you got all these guys trying to go to Cardi B, or the new girl with the orange hair,
sexy red. No,
not her. Ice Spice.
Ice Spice. Okay.
So what do you call the men that's going after her? Remember back in the day they had the No Pigeon song.
No Scrubs.
And then No Scrubs. So
he a scrub, because that's from my era. But no, I honestly, I really don't know how it is. Like, I don't know if guys, I could be wrong, but I feel like y'all are too prideful to really be in inboxes. Like,
it's going to be guys in Ice Spice.
I don't feel like it's going to be as like out there where it's like, where, I don't know. Is it like that?
You got Cardi B, you got Nicki Minaj, you got all these girls out there.
And but men think like, okay, so for a woman, right? I don't know if it's natural within us to feel as though like, to almost, because the society has made us feel as though what we are and who we are is to cater to the man, right? The way we look, the way we dress, like getting in shape, all these things is to cater to the man. So now it's like when you are of a certain caliber, we're throwing it at you because it's like, buy me. Look what I'm presenting you, right? For men, I don't feel like y'all have to perform to get our attention. Because let's be honest, Cardi B and them probably have their eye on someone where it's not in y'all to really feel as though you have to put on for us. I don't know. It could be different.
Well, I never thought about it like that.
I mean, I was never a groupie for anybody. Ever. I was not. That was one thing listen, I was a fan of Jesus. I was not going to be a groupie of another human. When they wake up, they got crust in their eye like me.
But some of these people wait for those kind of opportunities.
I don't know.
Like, you see somebody out there that, like, just say your 15-year-old nephew he was going to the NFL. Mm-hmm. That there are people looking for changes. Like,
I know he needs
come ups.
Because I can read energies. I feel like I can really tell, like, nah, they're not good for you. Like, protect your energy on that one.
But the kids gonna make their own decision.
I know, but I feel like I'm kind of.
You remember them kids back in the day, though?
I mean, we did. Yeah, we don't have to go that far. We made our own decisions. It's like, how do we, without sounding like the helicopter and like the ball busters, right? Mm. How do we connect with the children and the younger generations now to really impact them in a sense of saying, like, we're telling you because we know, and you could be saving so much time, but we're not doing it because we're trying to, make your life like humdrum or whatever. It's just like, don't even waste your time. Like, how do we connect on that level?
I don't know. I think about it all the time. Like, I think one of the areas like of growth, like amongst yourself, is to evaluate like where you are, and then try to push out these strategies, like just to see how they work. Because I try it all the time, like with my son, to try to find out, all right, how can I deliver this information that I want to say to him differently without upsetting him. Okay. You know what I mean? Or not only want to use the word upset, because some parents are like, I don't care if they upset. I put the roof over their head.
I was going to ask you, like, what do you mean by upset?
But I guess what I mean is without him getting flustered or shutting down. Gotcha. So, for example, if I say, you know what, go wash the dishes. After you finish whatever you're doing, go wash the dishes. And he'd be like, all right, I'll do it. And then I might see that he didn't do it. So then when he's on the phone or in the mix of something else, then I come into him in a different way and say, hey, I noticed you ain't washed the dishes. Like, you told me you was going to do this. I can't trust and believe that when I ask you to do something, you're going to follow through. Like, nah, Dad, I'll go do it now. You see what I mean? Yeah. It's just about the delivery of what we're trying to say.
100%.
Versus us just always doing like we got done when we was growing up.
You know what? I think for my mom generation was different because I always felt like I had a young mom. Yeah. Because my mom's like the age of my husband's siblings. Yeah. So the one thing I do with my children and that she did, she never talked at us. It was always a talking to us. Right. So it was always now listen, growing up in certain households, don't play. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, I knew I had a healthy fear of my mom. Fear where I knew
something was about to go there.
Yeah, like my mama could get with us. But I was a really great child. She would tell you, I didn't really get spankings because I listened. I was a kid who watched my siblings and was like, I don't want to do that. But we all were kind of good kids. But she never talked at us. It was always a conversation. We were able to express ourselves. Right. So I try to, I agree with you with conversing with your children and trying to convey a message without them shutting down. Because I think that's natural. It's cocooning. And it can transfer to adulthood where it's like you can't even thrive within relationships and you can't communicate because you put yourself back in that childlike mindset of shut down.
The childlike mentality.
Yep. But there's certain things about the childlike mentality that we need to have and certain things that we need to outgrow. Like we need to wean ourselves off just like we weaned ourselves off of milk.
So let me ask you this. Just say, because you see some of these grown adults, right? Yeah. Like it's even NBA players. Like you see like Shaquille O'Neal, he's a big basketball player. The man loves Spider-Man. He loves Spider-Man. So I think the ability to continue to be creative, by having that childlike mentality, by pulling out all the toys. Yeah. I'm not saying you're not going to clean them up, but I'm saying let's clean them up when we're about to do something that's like important next, like either eat, bathe.
You're saying time and place for everything, so it's like responsibility can kick in, so you know when to push that back. Yeah,
but let the moment happen like while it's happening. I think in this world right now, I mean, I'm guilty of it too. We get so busy of, the cell phone. We can't even, have dinner. It's like attached to us. Like back in the day, it's an obsession. We didn't have cell phone.
We sure did.
We was playing football. I had the football with me all the time. Outside,
running,
coming back in, stinking. My mom telling you take off your shoes. Don't come in my house
don't let her good air out the house.
Yeah, you got to be in when the street light came on. All those things. But I think that it's important to not hinder that area of. I'm gonna just call it. I'm gonna make up a word. I'm gonna just call it child storming.
Child storming. Oh, like brainstorming.
Yeah.
That's good. Listen, patent that one. Okay, so when you talk about the child storming and experiencing it, I think the one thing that we need to maintain is being vulnerable and being excited for new experiences. Yes. Because that's what I'm hearing. Like children, they don't have a concept of time.
Right.
So for children, it's
should we?
We shouldn't, but as you get older, if you think we didn't have a concept in time until we started school, right? And once you get out of school, you're either going to a job or you're going to college. So now it's more concepts of time.
And I'm glad you brought this up because like I'm like so glad you brought this up.
Why?
Because we think about like structure, right?
Yeah.
The world is changing.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know the exact fact on this, but many jobs are going online.
Yeah.
Or not so much online, but at home.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're a kid and you go to school, you're like into a structured class. Exactly. It's like, oh, I got to be to this class from 9:15 to 9 a.m. And I got to be here at this time, this time. But say in actuality, you were working on something and you knew you was just about to have a breakthrough, but you got to stop. Why?
Because it's time to do something else.
You got to go to the next class.
Yeah.
How many times did that happen to you in school?
You know, it's probably too many to count. You think about tests and you find it like you're sitting there with the answers. Because like I said, I was a type of learner where I got my concepts down. However, sometimes it took me time to like reread it and then really make sure. And then it's like, oh, I got to hurry up because teacher says 10 minutes left.
Right.
And then you don't want to be embarrassed and you're people pleasing and you're scared of, everybody else's opinion. So it's like, I don't want to be the last one taking a test. So now I'm just going to write anything down. But children, Liliana, has no concept of time.
Right.
She wakes up and it's like, what can I get into now?
Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, and it's like even my son Landon, who's 2, like you see it really at a younger age. Yeah. Because right now they have no concepts of time and they have a freedom of exploring and trying all these new experiences that somehow we get tainted and jaded in life and we mute that part of ourselves. Right. And then we only want to bring it out once retirement hits. And then we're like, I'm stuck.
And then you look and then you're like, oh man, I'm 65 and I'm buying a Corvette.
Yeah. And then we're living out things that it's like, yo, you passed that window on time.
Right.
But we have to keep that childlike mentality of now that you're aware, when you know better, you do better, right? And then sure, from our parents, they've learned and grown from the things that they wanted to do differently. So now as a parent, it's important for you to continue to keep that innocence, that childlike innocence with your children, to want to explore, want to maintain, want to try different things, because that ultimately will actually lead them to a happier, more fulfilled life.
Yeah, so let's talk about the fact of where, and this is just my thought about it. Okay. Because, I go into some crazy thoughts sometimes.
But it's cool.
But my thoughts is like, essentially, if you look at the structure of school, it's basically preparing you, not all schools. Yeah. I have to
give that disclaimer.
Okay. It's basically preparing you to work a job.
Yeah.
But the way that the economic system is changing, you can't really be dependent on the job anymore. So for example, like you was just saying, you go to school in the morning. Then after you go to school, you get a lunch. Oh, you got a lunch from 12 to 12:30. And then as soon as you finish lunch, you got to go back to the next class. And then after the next class, it's the next class. And then you know what? It's time to go at 5 o'clock. It's preparing you for a structure to be able to, essentially work a job.
A job or prison, they're very similar.
Yeah, similar jobs, similar experiences.
Exactly.
Whereas though the way things are changing now, the world is becoming more creative, and I feel like your work is not done until it's like done. Yeah. It's not like a time on it.
Exactly.
Like, as you and I both know, just being in real estate, sometimes we start at 6 a.m. and we don't get done until
it's not a 9 to 5 until like 12, 1 in the morning sometimes.
Until our creative minds turn off, where we have to turn them off. But we always consistently, as we talk, we always consistently thinking, how do we develop? How do we get better in this particular area? It's not, we have to be out of here at 1 o'clock to do this and that. It's always looking at where we are, analyze, plan, implement, measure. Looking at where we are, making a plan, implementing the plan, and we measure the results.
You know what chopped that mindset up?
What?
The pandemic.
Yes. Because
everyone realized, like, hold up, the world can still function. And wow, I'm actually now. The pandemic did bring out people who weren't happy because you spent time with you.
Yes.
Getting to know you, spending time with you and the people who you chose to be in your space.
Right.
But then you find more people who are doing more things within their that are making them happy,
Yeah.
and that their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of businesses were birthed during the pandemic because they realized, hold up, this whole thing of time and being able to fit something within an 8-hour shift. Like, I can do more actually outside of that. Some days it may only take me 4 hours to birth some really great ideas. Sometimes I gotta sit with it. And it took us back to the childlike mentality because there were so many different things that people started doing. Like for me, I learned how to do gardening. I started cutting my husband's hair. I started cooking all different type of cuisines, whether it be like Asian cuisines, Italian food, of course, soul food. Yes. But it was like I started realizing, like, oh my god!
And I know you said you joined groups too, like groups about these things.
I did, like the gardening groups, and then during the pandemic, I was already going to homeschool my children, but now I'm in so many homeschool communities where I'm like, right, there's so many things that I've learned that I like.
We got to talk about that one day.
Well, homeschool,
yeah, because I don't think a whole lot of people know about like a homeschool community.
It's big,
but again, we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, but
because I always hear you talking about it.
Yeah, for me, I'm not gonna. What works for me doesn't have to work for everybody. Right. And I think that if we lived a world where everyone's mindset that was willing to realize that what works for me doesn't have to work for you. Right. But you're not wrong. That's what you want to do. Right. That's how homeschool is for me. So I'm not saying
on the next episode of Beyond the Grind.
There you go.
We will be talking about.
It reminds me of the case files. Remember on was it Lifetime?
Yeah, Lifetime.
What was it? Oh my gosh, America's Most Wanted.
John.
What was the next?